Okay, today I want to show you a little bit of TinkerCAD that maybe you haven't tried out yet. One of the first things that I want you to go take a look at is the gallery. So the gallery has really awesome examples of projects that other people have done. You can sort by different categories, you can scroll through, you can even search in here for what other people have done. It's a really great place to get some inspiration about what's possible in TinkerCAD and just kind of help stretch your imagination a little bit. So I want to show you a few examples. This here is Buttons the Dragon, super cute. One of the things that I really like about Buttons the Dragon, other than it's a dragon and it's adorable, is the level of detail. You can see all the stitches actually holding the separate pieces together, which are all kind of individually placed. I also really like the use of color. When you go in class to print something out, you only get to have one or maybe two colors in your final product, but in TinkerCAD, you can use color however you like. It just serves to make your project that much more appealing. So I encourage you to go for it, use color. It's one of the great parts about this software. Here's another cool example. This is a Jeep. And so one of the things I like about it is, again, that use of color, right? This is Jeep colored. Those are nice black tires, red reflectors. So there's not a lot of color, but it's used really well. But the other is the level of detail, right? So the gear shifts and the steering wheel and the dials, and if we look underneath, the drivetrain and the linkages and the leaf springs, right? All the parts are there. You can even see into the engine well if there's an engine in there, or at least a radiator. That's really cool. So I want to encourage you to strive for this level of detail. If we were 3D printing this, again, maybe not every individual piece would come out perfectly. And in fact, I probably wouldn't try and 3D print this because those mirrors would almost certainly snap off, and a lot of this undercarriage stuff would just get covered in support material. But while you're working in TinkerCAD, that level of detail is amazing. So go for it. Make your projects exactly what you want them to be. Here's another one that I think is really awesome. If you look at it from this direction, it's mom. If you look at it from this direction, it's dad. If you look at it from the top, it doesn't look like either one of those things. So playing with perspective, things that look different from different angles, might be a really fun project to challenge yourself with. Maybe you want it to be text, maybe it's not text, maybe it's just a picture, right? Maybe it's something that takes on different characteristics, holding it different ways. That could be a really fun challenge to strive for in your 3D modeling. Here's another example. This is a turtle planter. And so this is showing a couple of things. One, it's showing some really great, cool, like texture detail that they built, but it's also showing how they broke it apart in order to be ready for 3D printing. They didn't try and print it all in one piece. It actually, if you look underneath, slots together. This piece slides down the middle of both. This helps connect the two parts, which is pretty cool. It even has a cute little baby turtle inside the writing on the back of the turtle, which I kind of love. And you can go look at a picture of a 3D printed version of it. So this is after they 3D printed it, this was the result, which is kind of cool too. Okay, so go to the gallery, get inspired. Do not turn something that someone else did in as your own. It is really apparent when you do that. Just don't. Make your own stuff, but go ahead and get inspired by someone else's ideas, okay? All right, next up, I want to show you CodeBlocks. So if we go back to our dashboard, here where you have 3D designs, you have circuits, CodeBlocks is right underneath it. So I'm going to show you a CodeBlock example. This is a modified version of someone else's T-Light, and I'm just going to show you how it works. Instead of creating shapes and moving them around yourself, you actually write code over here, kind of like Scratch, if you've ever used Scratch, to set up shapes and move them around in, well, you'll see. So it will highlight which step it's on as you see it move over here in the viewport. There you can see the shapes moving, being turned into holes and back into shapes and into more holes. One of the cool things about CodeBlocks is that because it's doing this all like based on the, you know, degrees and measurements you put in, it's going to be super exact. And it can do things like this that need to be iterated, good vocabulary word, multiple times. See how quick it just went through all those. So this is a tea light holder. You can put your little tea light candle down there on the inside, and it would get, you know, streams of light coming out through these holes, and this would 3D print really well. So that's kind of fun. This is not a requirement for this class at all, but if you have some coding background and you think that using an interface like this might be interesting, go for it. Could be really cool. Okay. I also want to show you a couple of shape options that you might not have seen yet. The first is going down in the shapes options to shape generators. There's a lot of them, and they all have options. That's kind of what makes them shape generators. So if I pull out US states, maybe I don't want New York, maybe I want Oregon. Where are we, Oregon? There you are. There's the state of Oregon. Nice little outline. Let's see, we are here. You could use this in a project and not have to create the state of Oregon yourself. Okay, there are a lot of shape generators and they're pretty cool. So you can go through and just kind of take a look, learn all about pitch and angle and gears by playing with the sliders here. Gear generators are pretty awesome. There's things like, there's so many. Oh, the limpet, I like the limpet. So in this one, we're just messing with the R value here, but you can see how quickly it changes. Let's see. So many. Screw threads, this is a pretty cool one. You can change the inner radius. You can change the outer radius. No. You can change the thread height, the outer thread height. So that's going to get you that slope. You can change the number of turns. Maybe it's really, oh, see if it's really tight, I need to separate these guys back out again. There we go. Every time you change something over here, it reruns the math. So sometimes you need to give it a little time to catch up, which is fine. You can change the direction. So now I can have an opposite direction thread. There it goes. Very cool. One thing you should keep in mind when you're doing any of these shape generators is that it is running a program to create your generated shape. You can see how much is kind of going on there. So if I change these, it recreates it every time I make a change. And it also becomes a very complex shape very quickly. So it's gonna slow down TinkerCAD because it's doing all of those calculations. Every time I resize it, for example, it has to figure all that out. If you copy paste, it just becomes very dense. So you need to use them judiciously and be realistic about what TinkerCAD can handle on your behalf. Okay, shape generators, very cool. Go give them a try. One more thing I want to show you is the Making at Home tab. So this was actually added after the pandemic started, once it was clear everyone was going to be at home for a while. And it's a really cool interface. So it has built in some things that you might have around your house, like a pencil or a popsicle stick or a tissue paper roll. And these are sized appropriately so that you could include them in your design. So if, for example, you wanted to make a pencil topper, let's see, I'm gonna go get a shape. I'm gonna get a sphere and make it a little bigger. So now if I want this sphere to be a pencil topper, I could choose both of them, use the align to get them all lined up just right. There you go, it's nice and centered. And I'm gonna line them up this way, but now my pencil is like sticking out the back, so that's a little too far. So I'm going to scooch it back down so that maybe there. So that would be just on the eraser. That would be on the eraser and a little bit in the middle part. Maybe I'll do that. So now if I change this pencil into a hole and group it with my pencil topper, I will have a cutout hole in the top of that shape, the size and shape of a pencil. So the only thing wrong with that is that that's going to be the exact size and shape of the pencil, which would probably be too tight in the real world if we were to print this out. So you might want to make your pencil a little bit bigger before you use it as a cutout shape like that. Okay, so that's pretty awesome. Where'd my perspective go? There it is. You could also, if you were doing a something or be useful project, for example, I have a friend who gardens and she uses these tissue paper rolls as like seed starters, right? And so maybe you're gonna make something that labels what seed is in the seed starter. That could be fun. Or maybe you're gonna make something that you put this tissue paper roll in and it's, you know, feet or a head. Treat it like a Mr. Potato Head. You can do that with a bunch of the shapes in here. Certainly not required, but kind of a cool option. Maybe you're gonna do something to modify a tin can. So this is like the metal can that canned food comes in, or a chopstick, or a yogurt cup, right? So just kind of a cool pre-made shape set that can let you think about how your item will exist in the real world, help you get your relationships correct for real world size and shape. All right, so that was just a few things to hopefully get your mind going either on your current project or on your next project. So think color, think detail, consider CodeBlocks if you've got a coding background. And I encourage you to explore the shape generators and the making at home pre-made shapes. All right, that's it for today.